Hello and welcome back to Miss White's grade 11 college course. We are doing 9.3 credit cards. So there are a few things that you might want to think about before you get a credit card. First of all, where do you want to get your credit card? You can go to a bank, you can go to a different financial institution, or you can go to a retailer like an electronics store or a gas station or something like that. Don't worry, you don't have to go find them. They will find you. And try to sell you a credit card. So some of the things to think about when you are going to get one of those, and you see a bunch of different options. The first thing you want to think about is there an annual fee? Okay, do I have to pay them in order to have my credit card? This usually is good if they have really good rewards and things like that. Then you might want to think about getting one that has an annual fee. You also have to think about the interest rate. This is an annual interest rate, but they'll compound it depending on your policy. So you do have to think about the compounding frequency. Usually it compounds daily. And that's because, you can pay it off any day that you want. And you don't usually wait a whole month for a payment. Like if you were late, you wouldn't just wait for the whole month to pay it back. So that's why the compounding frequency is usually daily. You have to think about how many days after the statement the payment is due. That's going to be called the grace period. So here the grace period is 21 days. And so after the statement is after the statement is given to you, the payment will be due later and you won't have to pay interest on the purchase until the grace period is over. Okay, because that's how credit cards work. And then you might want to think about what incentives or rewards your credit card gives you. This is what most people look at right away. So sometimes they'll give you air miles or cash back or some sort of point system depending on their policy. Okay, so we're going to look at this credit card statement and answer some questions, and we can just see how it works. So it says the statement is issued on the 8th of each month. On what date will the payment be due? And by the way, if you're having difficulty reading this, this is from your textbook, so feel free to open up your textbook and look at it. So the statement is issued on the 8th of each month. On what day will the payment be due? So the grace period is 21 days. So it's going to be the 8th of the month plus another 21 days. So it's going to be due on the 29th of each month. Okay, that's how it works. So anything that Ahmed buys before the 8th, if he doesn't pay it until the 29th, that's okay. He won't have to pay any interest. On September's statement, Ahmed has a balance of $86.36. What is his minimum payment? So again, we're going to look at his credit card statement, and it says the minimum payment is greater of $10 or the 3% balance. So we're going to have to figure out what 3% of $86.36 is. So 86.36 times 0.03, that's 3%. Use your calculator, and that's $2.59, which is smaller than $10. So he's going to have to pay $10, right? That is going to be his minimum payment. In October, he had a balance of $462.18. What is his minimum payment? So again, we're going to do 462 times 0.03 and figure out what the 3% is. Use your calculator, 13.87. And this is greater than $10, so his minimum payment is $13.87. Okay, so we have to take the bigger of the two. If it takes 3 days to process his payment, what is the latest date that he can pay October's bill without being overdue? So if it's issued on the 8th and it's due on October 29th, then 3 days before that is when he should pay for his bill, because he doesn't want to get charged any interest, because sometimes it takes some time for the money to go through, especially if you're using a bank. So 3 days before October 29th is October 26th. So that's the day he has to pay it. If interest is calculated and compounded daily, determine the daily interest rate to 4 decimal places. So this is like finding the I value when we're doing A equals P times 1 plus I to the N, right? So we're finding the I part. So we're going to do the annual interest rate, which is 14.9%. So 14.9 or 0.149 divide by 365. And that's going to give us 0.0408%. Okay? And last question. October bill was one purchase from September the 15th. Calculate the interest charged on October's bill if it is paid in full 5 days after the due date. So 5 days after the due date is going to be November the 3rd, right? Because it was due on the 29th. So 30th, 31st, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. That's 5 days. And if he bought it on September 15th, we're actually charging interest from the purchase date, not from the due date. Okay, so we're not just getting charged 5 days of interest, we're getting charged 49 days of interest. So we're going to use A equals P times 1 plus I to the N to calculate this amount of money, because we're compounding, right? So you can see how useful this formula has been. We use it all the time. We already found I, so we're going to just use it, 1.00, and don't forget to put the extra 00 before your number because it's a percent. And it was 49 days. You can count them on the calendar. Use your calculator, and this amount is $471.51. That's how much he would owe. Okay, the question says calculate the interest charged. So remember, I equals A minus P. So A is 471.51 and P was 462.18. So the interest he has to pay is $9.33. That's a lot of interest. So you got to be careful. Make sure you pay your credit card bills on time. So the takeaways from this lesson: first of all, the interest rates charged are super high, and you want to make your payments on time. And if you have a savings account, your interest is going to be way lower than your credit card amount interest will be. Most credit cards are compounded daily on overdue accounts, and they charge you from the date of purchase. If the balance is paid in full, then no interest is charged during the grace period. And you want to make sure that you're paying your purchases slightly earlier than the due date, just to make sure that it gets processed properly. And lastly, you can think about what incentives or rewards you're given for a credit card and the annual fee for the credit card when you're thinking about what credit card you want to buy. Okay, hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.